Hi, this is Emily from Simply Steins. Today we're doing another segment of Hometown Homesteads. Today we're going to do the Salb family. Um, what they're doing here with their horses is amazing. I can't wait for you to meet her.
Hi, my name's Linda Salb, and this is JJ Acres. We have a small training and lesson facility, which is totally part-time because I work full-time. I enjoy working with people who have confidence issues, small children, and people that have lost their confidence for being around horses. So um, I go to um, special training ideas to make the horses calm and so that the people aren't afraid. And so we talk about why a horse does what it does and how it feels. And this is what's going to happen if you do it this way versus that way. I got started in horses when I was about 2 years old. My parents put me on the ponies at a pony ride, and I didn't want to come off. And I was really, really worried that the saddle was attached to the horse's skin, and I wanted to make sure the horse didn't get hurt. So they explained to me that it was removable, and the horse didn't mind at all. And ever since then, I've just been bonded to the idea of having a horse. So at one point in time, we had 12 horses here. Some of them belonged to other people, and since then, we're getting old, and several of the horses have died, and we have them buried on the farm, and it's just turned into a lifestyle. So that's what we do, is horses. We train them, we teach them, we show people how to be around horses versus how to cowboy them, which it makes cowboys sound bad, but that's the terminology people use when people are rough on their horses. So the newest term for working with horses is called natural horsemanship. So what you want to do is listen to your horse, and they will essentially show you what's wrong. As you can see, they're all approachable and friendly and nonviolent, and even so the young lady there can pull on their tail and what have you. So the two little horses are miniature horses. They're not ponies. They're adults, and this is Raina, and she's what's called a buckskin. Buckskins can range in color from oatmeal to golden, and from the dark brown to black mane and tail. She's just a big pet. If you sit down, she'll come over and put her head in your lap. The other little guy over here is Rowdy, and he's a miniature horse also. He's a little bit bigger than Raina. He pulls a cart, and he loves it. And they're all friendly. His chief love in life is treats. He'll follow you around and put his nose in your pockets and steal treats. He's 11 and Raina is 8, so they're full grown. They won't get any bigger. And because he's a red and white pinto, and he's a red and white pinto, a lot of people ask me if that's his baby. But This guy is Hidalgo. He's a half draft horse and half riding horse, and we ride him, and he's learning how to pull a sleigh. He was this gentle when we got him when he was a baby. He could do about anything you wanted to. This beautiful lady here is Ruby. Her name is Freckles on her papers, and she's a registered quarter horse. She's 20 years old. Didn't say Hidalgo's 15. And she knows how to do almost everything. Probably knows more than me. But she used to belong to a girl who went off to college, and I ended up with her. So she's a nice horse. And again, I will use her for lessons because she is almost unflappable. I've not found anything that bothers her yet. This other one is Kiss. She's a registered Arabian. She's a little bit standoffish with people she doesn't know. But again, she's friendly and nonviolent. All this stomping and swishing the tails is because of flies. And people do all kinds of things for flies. And some of it works and some of it doesn't. But God gave them tails and they gave them each other. So a lot of times they'll stand nose to tail and use their tails to swat flies on each other's heads. Her Kiss is 15 also, and she's almost a riding horse. She hasn't had a lot of work, but the main thing for my herd is that they're all friendly and sociable, and you can see that they kind of divide up. The little ones stay together, and the little buckskin mare is a girl, Kiss is a girl, Ruby's a girl, and a lot of times they will hang out together and the two boys will hang out separately, just like with kids in high school. You want to be gentle and kind and understanding because loud noises and quick actions are the things that wild horses will alert to and want to run away. So with domestic horses, it's the same thing, but we do something called desensitize so that they will not be so scared of all the strange things that people do. And sometimes we just like to come out and be with them and enjoy their company. Most people have their horses in stalls or in stables. And so when you go, you get your horse out of the stable, go do what you're going to do with your horse and put it away. And a lot of what goes on with horses can only be found by watching them in the pasture. You can see their interactions. You can see when they're stomping or moving their heads, how they will use their heads to point at another horse and move them around. But they're great watchdogs also. If something strange is going on the road, look at your horses. They'll be the first one to be looking over there saying, there's something going on over here. And some prefer people's company more than others. This one was raised in a stall with people, and she would much rather have somebody with her and petting her and brushing her than to be out grazing even. So you learn their personalities, and they have a pecking order just like chickens. Usually you have a dominant mare. They'll wander around the pasture. This is their home. It's where they live 24/7. They've got shelter to get out of storms or heat, and they've got a water trough, and they have a regular route that they, on the dot of about 4:30 in the afternoon, they're going to take a drink. So you can kind of schedule your day by what your horses are doing. And it's a matter of observation. Most people, if they have a chance, like I do, to watch them out in the pasture, you get to know their likes, dislikes, their personalities. Some of them like to eat weeds, and some of them don't. I had one that liked dandelions and one that liked Queen Anne's lace. And when you see a horse pasture with weeds growing up, that's the stuff that they won't eat. And so you want to keep that cut down, and I have an appointment with a man to come cut all my weeds next week. And they're rolling right now over there because they get that dust on them and it keeps the flies off. That's a natural fly repellent. So now if they weren't rolling for flies and this was the middle of the winter, it would mean that he was sick. So you just have to kind of get to know your animals, and by watching them and paying attention, you gain a lot of knowledge you can't get out of books or even from other people. So right now there's peace in my valley, and it's a good feeling. Every chance I got to get around a horse or somebody who owned a horse, I was begging to go see them or have a ride. And I read all the horse books in the library. And then when I got my own horse, I found out that reading's one thing, but doing is so much better. Um, and so I've essentially been horse crazy all my life. And everybody told my parents, oh, she'll grow out of it. Well, I'm going to be 70 my next birthday, and I haven't grown out of it yet. And I highly recommend it. Is if you want to keep your kids busy and out of trouble, they're going to be too busy working, taking care of their horse to get in any trouble. And every time I read something new in a book, I had to come out and try it on my horse. So over the years, I've learned all kinds of horse disciplines, from driving to dressage to jumping to Western riding, and driving I meant by carts. And I've got a big horse right now that's learning how to pull a sleigh. And so before I die, I'm never going to learn all there is to learn about horses. And so I'm pretty thankful for that. I've learned that raising horses is for special people. We've raised a couple of colts, but you not only have to raise the colt, you have to take care of a pregnant mare. You have to choose a stallion that's going to give you a good colt. And colts are young horses. When you talk about a bigger horse being a colt, it's a boy horse. And a bigger foal, a bigger girl horse is a mare or a filly. So, you learn terminology. And I learned that you have to slow down and be gentle with horses, that the guy with the big stick doesn't always get the best results. If you love horses and you really want a horse so bad that you just can't stand it, don't go buy one right off the bat. Find a good place accessible to you that gives lessons to beginners, even if you're 60, so that once you get your own horse, you're familiar with how to brush them, how to handle their feet, how to get on and off, how to make them go and stop, what to do if the horse and you have a disagreement, like I want to go right and it wants to go left. Those are all things that it's helpful to know before you bring a horse home and all of a sudden you realize you don't know the first thing about what you're doing. And so I was very fortunate to meet a lady that later went on to be the Dean of Equine Studies at St. Mary of the Woods College. And she gave me my first horseback riding lessons and showed me all the things that I needed to know to be a successful horse owner. And she started me on my journey. So I got my first horse from a friend whose father had it, and she was half saddlebred and part Arabian mare. and she was what they call bomb-proof. People say there's no bomb-proof horses, but she was close to it. She didn't do anything wrong, anything scary. You could let anybody you wanted to get on her, and I could ride her down the road, and traffic didn't bother her. At one point, I rode her up Keystone Avenue in Carmel, and she didn't care about the traffic, but I cared because it was loud. So we didn't ride there anymore because traffic is too loud. It's more fun to ride in the woods. Um, and and so I had her for a while, and I got 2 babies off of her, one of whom I kept for 29 years. And, you know, she went and passed on. But that was my beginning. And I would recommend that if, you know, you fall in love with a young horse or a wild horse and you have no horse experience, don't do it. Don't do it. Get a good old or middle-aged horse that's calm and gentle and that is safe around your family, and learn everything you need to learn first, and then you can branch out into learning about training horses and different kinds of riding. Most of the time, people are selling horses because there's something wrong with them, and you don't want their problems. Get the one that's right for you and have enough self-discipline to wait. So I've got a Facebook page called Have Fun with Your Horse, because if you're not having fun with your horse, why are you doing it? There are some people who just live and breathe to just be next to a horse and touch him. And if that makes you nervous and upset, maybe you need to do something else than having horses. Fun with Your Horse is a page that I use when I take pictures or give information for lessons. And my lesson program is mainly for beginners. And I also work with people who have confidence issues that already know how to ride, but for some reason they all of a sudden are very unsure of themselves in the saddle. Maybe their horse shied and they fell off, or maybe they almost fell off and didn't like that scary feeling in the pit of their stomach. And so I use groundwork exercises with them and their horse so that they both feel more comfortable with each other. And then we work on the basics, like, do you have a saddle that really fits you and your horse? Are you giving the right cues through the bridle? So we basically just go through everything so that the person can gain confidence back with their horse and enjoy riding again. Recently, the scientists who study such things have found that animals as well as people have an electrical aura. The horse's aura is 5 times bigger than ours, and that might explain why people generally feel better when they are near or around horses than they do by themselves. And because of this research, there are several nonprofits around the world that have sprung up doing equine assisted therapy. And you don't have to ride a horse to be involved in this. It helps people with autism and behavioral problems and other things that people have trouble dealing with that the sociologists and psychologists can't seem to get a handle on. The basics of riding are that you have to be able to catch your horse. You have to learn how to tie it up. You have to learn how to properly use the halter, which is the device that goes on the horse's head, and the lead rope, which is what you use to lead the horse around, similar to a dog leash. You need to learn how to properly put a saddle on and take it off. How tight is it supposed to be? How does the bridle fit? And then you need to learn how it all works. So when I get on the horse, what do I do next? And so the beginner lessons are actually like driver's ed for horses. And so that when you're ready for your first road trip without somebody leading you, you actually have the skills to do it safely and enjoyably. Everybody says, I don't know if I could afford to have a horse. It's so expensive. Well, those people are thinking about the Queen of England and the sheiks and the racehorse owners. Well, most, probably 99% of the people that I know who have horses and are involved in riding, showing, breeding, training, and other horse pursuits do it on a shoestring. There are tack exchanges and tack swaps and used tack all over that you can buy. And some people get extremely good at bargain shopping. You can do that with your horse clothing for you and your horse. And unless you're really committed to doing Class A shows, which is expensive, you can enjoy horses, trail riding and going with your friends. And some people even share horses. They might lease a horse and they both share the cost of it. And so there are all kinds of creative ways that you can do horse keeping on a shoestring. We happen to live on a farm that raises hay, and so we do our own hay. And as a product of that, we are able to also sell some hay, which helps balance out the costs. There are all kinds of facets of the horse industry you can be in and make money in to supplement your horse addiction. And it is an addiction once you get one. They're the gift that keeps on giving because you can't have just one. So instead of telling yourself, no, I can't do this because it's too expensive, get to know some horse people, join some clubs, join an online group. There are plenty of question and answers and marketplace to kind of search out what you want to do with your passion. And that's how I can do horse keeping on a shoestring. And I spend most of my enjoyable time in the barn with my horses or reading horse books.
Thank you for coming along for another Hometown Homestead. We'll see you next time.